Hi guys, welcome to another beer review, and I've just had, well, I finished it about an hour ago, one of the best Imperial Stouts that I've had in quite a while, which was the Tuol Liquid Confidence. Just absolutely breathtaking. But even though it is a Sunday night, I was thinking, you know what, I'm in the mood for another special beer. So that's what I'm going to do. And today we're going back over to Germany, and we are looking at the 2017 TAPX from Schneider Weisse, which is the Nelson Sauvin, and this is a Weizenbock, clocking in at 7.3% in a 375ml bottle. I paid £4.05 for this at Northern Beer Temple in Wigan. Great little bottle shop. I'll put their links down below. But yeah, I did recently, to record this video, do a live review of a 2013 vintage of the Aventinus, which is one of my favourite beers. And I had that, and I don't know, I think there might have been something slightly wrong with the bottle. So I'm hoping this vintage of the Nelson Sauvin, I don't think I've had, I think I've had one of the TAPX range, and that was while I was in Germany, and that was the Marie's Rendezvous, which was to celebrate I think it was the great-grandmother of George Schneider, which is very fitting, because I think she was responsible for the creation of the, and I'm probably completely off the mark here, so I do apologise for complete misinformation, but it sounds like a good story anyway. She was responsible for the discovery of the Eisbock from Schneider Weisse, which was basically the Aventinus, which in transit froze, and she realised that, oh, it's a bit more potent. So yeah, Schneider Weisse, I think the reputation precedes them. Don't know what that little story time was about. I'm sure I was trying to make a point somewhere. Yeah, basically when I had the 2013 Aventinus, it pretty much gushed everywhere, which was quite annoying. And there were loads of floaties in it, and it just had like a savoury soy sauce flavour to it. And I don't know, it's I gave it a 7 out of 10 when I did the review, but the more I was drinking it after the review, which is always the case when it comes to reviewing beers, I'm sure you guys who also review beers will agree, you sometimes have a beer and it just develops like half an hour after you've finished recording a video, because of the complexities and the nuances and stuff. So it's actually sometimes quite pointless doing reviews like this, drinking the beer. Yeah, I was taking the label off the top, because it's a pretty little label. And yeah, the beers do sometimes develop quite a lot when you don't expect them to. So what you get while you're drinking it after your review, you didn't even pick up when you were initially reviewing it. So where am I going with this? What a mess. But yeah, we've got the TAPX 2017 Nelson Sauvin. So brewed with Nelson Sauvin hops, providing a pleasantly fresh and grape-like fruitiness. So I'm going to read the little card that was on the neck of the bottle. I do love the artistry in the artwork with the Schneider Weisse stuff. I just love it. It's got like a classic but contemporary feel to it, and yeah, they just have a presence. You know, you see them, whether you're in Germany or you see them internationally, it's like, yes, Schneider Weisse, get on it. And yeah, so I think this pretty much costs the same as what I would pay for it back in Germany. Because one thing I've noticed about the German beer market, when it comes to the more like traditional stuff, is they do have a tendency to put beers in like a big bottle, like bigger than like 750, you know, a massive bottle, And even though you're only getting like 2 or 3 times more than a regular bottle, they like charge like 10 to 12 euros for it. Hackashaw do it as well with the Doppelbock that they have, and I saw it happen a few times with the Schneider Weisse stuff. So to get this in the UK for £4.95, I'm not going to complain too much. And people say, oh, I could get it for like £3 in my bottle shop. Well, good for you. Get yourself a couple of bottles, drink one now, and save one for later. Don't be such a smart ass. But yeah, 375ml bottle. Let's get this beer opened. Oof, that was a satisfying pop. It's got one of those little plastic thingies, suction caps. It's not a suction cap heater. Where are you getting that from? But look at that smoke. Of course, it stops when I actually show you it in a good lighting. So let's see what we get with this one. So I was supposed to read you the label on the neck of the bottle, wasn't I? Oh my god, what is with this review? It's going absolutely terribly, but I'm not going to start again because we're quite into it. So, a fascinating combination of freshness, fruitiness and elegance. Brewed with rare Nelson Sauvin hops from New Zealand, this bottle-fermented wheat beer reminds of an expressive, vibrant Sauvignon Blanc. An exotic flowery nose is balanced by malty spiciness, lightly sour fruitness, and a fine bitter finish. Pairs very well with pickled vegetables. There you go, Christopher. Parma ham, pasta, creamy ripe cheese, and fruity desserts. Enjoy this refreshing special brew. George Schneider. A nice little taste, and it doesn't give you too much. It doesn't give too much away, but it sort of like gets you in the mood to try it. So beer in the glass then, and yeah, it's got a little bit of clarity to it, but I would suspect the further down in the bottle we get, when we pour the rest in, it will probably cloud up a little bit. But a lovely sort of like amber colour to it. A little bit of golden on the outside. Yeah, there's a little tiny bit of haze to it, but it's a little bit more clear than you would expect. But it's not like a Heller's Lager or anything like that. And the beer poured with, let's just generate some head so we can show you, just for the sake of the review. And it's got a sort of like beige coloured head, or a pale beige, not too much. But it looks pretty much white on that camera, so I do apologise about that. But yeah, it looks really nice actually, very pleasant looking on the eye. Anyway, so let's see what we get on the nose. And I apologise if anyone from Schneider Weisse is watching this review. I do apologise about the direction in which we have been going. Well, directions, I should say. Anyway, let's give it a sniff. Yeah, you do get that sort of like very subtle, almost wine-like grapey character coming through. A little bit of citrus in notes there. It's definitely got that sort of like New World hoppy aroma to it without it being a very hoppy beer. Then of course you get that wheat coming out. It's got that, you know, wheat beer aroma through and through. A little bit of a salad leaf herbal tones in there. Not too banana-y or clovey or vanilla. I think that grapey hop character is just cutting through it just enough to make it a lovely, slightly fruity, slightly berry-like. But then you get that sort of like musky dankness coming from the wheat beer itself. But at 7.3%, you're not getting any alcohol on the nose. I wouldn't really expect it, to be honest, but you do get surprised sometimes. But yeah, a lovely balance to it, a little bit of breadiness. Almost has that sort of like a malted loaf aroma. You know, like the hot cross bun sort of bread you can get. Almost like brioche, actually. Lovely sweety, gentle cakey tones. But then it's like this slight puckering sourness coming from the hop. It smells absolutely lovely. Let's give it a taste. Prost. Oh. that is really nice. It's got a little bit more funkiness than I was expecting, to be honest. It sort of reminded me of a slightly bolder Berliner Weisse, like a fruited Berliner Weisse. Definitely getting like a wine character on the back end. Very subtle fruity tones coming from that Nelson Sauvin hop. Not had it too much, so I can't really give you like proper attributes of that hop or characteristics, but that is really lovely. It's it's like a sweet bread. Like you've got currants in there, you've put on a bit of like marmalade. It's got that hot cross bun sort of flavour to it as well. Very subtle brioche tones. But then there's like this slight floweriness too as well. Just a very subtle savoury edge. Lovely fruity tones on the intake. And yeah, that's a lovely balanced beer. That hop almost makes it, because I find with wheat beers, they're a little bit heavy on my gut. I think it's just the genetic makeup of a wheat beer fundamentally that just doesn't really agree with me a lot of the time. Which I don't get that with many other beers. It's usually like the wheat beers or maybe some of the more Belgian or French styles, where there's lots of like yeasty character as well. Probably shouldn't really be drinking as much if I get like that with certain beers, but oh well. But there's like really no heaviness to this. The body is a lovely, bold, not too heavy, not too light. Yeah, again, I'm reminded of some of the Berliner Weisses that I've had from the likes of Mikkeller. And it's got that very subtle like Riesling sort of character to it as well. But yeah, that's just, it's so nice and gentle and rounded. Obviously with this being a 2017 bottle, is there actually a bottled on date on here? I don't think there is. Would that be on the actual label itself? Yeah, I think actually, because I bought this a few weeks ago, or maybe about a month ago. And, well, a few weeks ago, it's not been that long. So it's not a fresh bottle, obviously, because it would be a 2018 TAPX. And I think, going on pure speculation, I would think that this beer's mellowed out a little bit as it's matured. And I think that's worked so well for the beer. If anything, this would be even more satisfying if you were to leave this for another 6 months. Or so. Even though it's using a specific hop, you're not really losing too much in terms of like a hoppy beer, because if you were to have that, it'd just be a hoppy wheat beer, fundamentally, a single hopped hoppy wheat beer. But I think the characteristics of that Nelson Sauvin hop actually work quite well, and they develop as you let it mature. Of course, that is just going on purely speculation and from what very limited brewing knowledge I have. Someone could tell me, oh, the Nelson Sauvin hop is better to do this, blah, 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 blah. That's perfectly fine. If you can teach me when you watch these videos, then that's even better. That's what it's all about. It's not about like saying, oh, I know more about beer than you, or I know the best beers, I drink the best beers, you drink crap beers compared to what I drink. It's not about that. It's about watching people enjoy beer, discussing the beer, picking it apart, learning about the makeup of the beer, learning about the characteristics of certain ingredients of the beer. And if someone who you might be watching or reading or talking to is slightly misinformed, you know, all it takes is, oh, actually, what I think this hop does is blah, 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 instead of, you really think it does that? I hate that attitude. But a nice little tangent we've got going there. But this is lovely. It really, really is. That wine-like fruitiness And I'm not the biggest fan of wine, to be honest. But I think in the context of this beer, it works really, really well. It really, really does. This is a lovely, gentle beer. Slight breadiness now as I'm talking on the back end, but it doesn't go into that almost over-boiled loose leaf tea characteristic that I do find with certain styles like this. But yeah, now that it's all in the glass, that is pretty much murked up nicely. Some tiny particulates, excuse me, floating around in there. So I'd imagine that the body might be a little bit bolder. Let's give it a taste. Oh yeah, it's smoothed out nicely. And there's a little bit more of a breadiness there. And that like slight fruitiness is toned down a little bit now that everything's in that glass. But it's still a lovely beer. It really, really is. So if you're really careful pouring the beer, or if you just pour it in at once, you're going to really enjoy this one. You'd have had to have tried like all the other TAPXs up to this point for you to not really enjoy this beer. Even if you don't like wheat beers, there's enough in this, enough complexity, enough nuance in there to really, you know, open your mind a little. And for £4.95 for something like that, see, that's the thing with German beers. They're not just German beers to me. This has transported me back to those 7 years that I spent in Germany, which were like some of the best beer experiences that I've ever had. And, you know, you can't put a price on that sort of stuff. And, you know, because I picked this up when I was picking up beers for Paul for his visit. And again, that's what it's all about. You know, I would have happily, in hindsight, shared this with one of the guys who came down when Paul was around, because it is one of those sorts of beers. I mean, it's great to enjoy the 375ml bottle yourself, but it's a great like sharing beer. You know, if you're going around to a friend's house for a meal and everyone's bringing like a bottle of something, you put that on the table and people are going to enjoy it, especially if people like wine. I think there's enough in there as well for like the wine enthusiasts who aren't really into craft beer, but you want to drink with them. Bring something like this over to them so you can both enjoy it. It's a lovely, lovely beer. Is it my favourite Schneider Weisse product? Not really. But is it a damn good one? Hell yes it is. So in terms of a rating, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's a lovely, lovely beer. And I've got to say, I've had a damn good Sunday evening with these two beers. What a way to end a week. Lovely, lovely stuff from the ever-reliable Schneider Weisse brewery. If you've tried this one or any of the other TAPXs throughout the years, then give me your thoughts, opinions down below. Are you a fan of the Schneider Weisse brewery? Are you a fan of the styles that they do? Are you a fan of wheat beers? Just bombard me in the comments. If any of my friends and fellow beer tubers have reviewed this one, then of course their links will be down below. I do have a Schneider Weisse playlist, so please, I welcome you to check that out. Check out my wheat beer playlist as well for more examples of the style. And of course, check out Schneider Weisse, check out Northern Beer Temple, and more importantly, I hope you'll join me next time, because this has been a somewhat car crash review, and we're at 18 minutes. Happy days, and if you sat through this video, then you deserve a drink. And I hope it's as good as this one. Anyway, you're all awesome, I love you all, and I hope you'll join me next time for another beer review. Auf Wiedersehen.